Hi everybody, this is John from Nautical Monkey. Today we're out on Lake Travis in Austin, Texas with Tim Taylor from Outbound Sailing. Tim's going to tell us a little bit about his sailing school and give us a sailing lesson. So come along with us and enjoy.
Okay, well, welcome to Outbound Sailing. We're going to get on Boomerang. This is our Catalina 31, and this is what we'll be working on most of the day. So come on board. This is an interesting boat. It was designed specifically for a cruising couple, and because of that, they were able to make trade-offs that that I really like, and I think makes this boat fantastic. Okay, so one of the things is they took the this bulkhead here and moved it aft from the previous models behind the mast. And so now you've got this big area here, that is great for the, you know, if it's hanging out, and you don't have a mast in the middle of it. Most boats, sailboats, going to have a mast somewhere in the salon. This one doesn't. By pulling this this bulkhead back, they're able to make a really nice forward cabin. And so that's really the cabin on the boat. And so that's where sort of the couple lives. The other cabin, there is one, but it's back there. And you'll notice it's not closed off or anything, it's wide open, so there's no privacy or anything like that. But it works great as a garage. And if you're cruising around, you know, even if you're just doing coastal cruising, all the stuff that you have to bring along, it just accumulates, you know, and you need a place to put it. So this has, you know, all that. It's got air conditioning, and it's got, you know, a 3-burner stove right behind you there, Kayleen. It's got a barbecue grill, microwave, full refrigeration, air conditioning. So what we'll be doing, we'll be looking at some of the basics of the boat, the parts of the boat, and names of the various parts of the boat that you'll need to know. And then we'll be looking at doing some of the skills. We'll actually get out on the water and start doing some things like tacking and jibing and that kind of thing. And I'll have you both working together so that you two will be actually sailing the boat.
Yeah, you can do it. Yeah.
Have you sailed before?
Mm-hmm.
A little bit, yeah.
I have not.
Have not.
So even the terminology, is going to be foreign to me.
Okay. And Kaylina, how much have you sailed?
Oh, it was a while ago, quite a few years ago, but I did a couple of regattas.
Yeah.
And just every Thursday I would go out.
Okay. Like the yacht club?
Mm-hmm.
Ah, great. Okay. All right. Good.
How long does it take for someone to get their captain's, would you say, certification or license?
The courses, there are 3 core courses. Basic keelboat sailing, basic coastal cruising, and bareboat cruising. With those 3 courses, you can charter a boat, you know, down the islands, you know, somewhere where the navigation is fairly easy.
By the way, did you say that you went, your initial sailing trips that you took pre-captain's license?
Yes.
So you weren't even licensed before you took off and started sailing, right?
I didn't really know how to sail that well when I left.
Trial by fire.
Yeah. So I get students that come along like that have sort of taught themselves, and then we have to unteach them, and that's what I was doing for a lot of the time, is unteaching myself.
Nautical Monkey does not recommend that practice.
So the first course is a 2-day course,
Okay.
as is the second course. The third one is a 3-day course. Okay, so what you'll see, some outfits will offer a crash course down in the islands, I'll say 101 through 104. And it's inexpensive, and you get down and you do it in the islands and things like that, but you do not come away with a very good education or training on the boats. I like to have people take one of the courses and then have at least a week before they start the other course, and I've got some materials and checklists and things that they can go through to do reviews and help cement that stuff in. I want them to do that during that week and get prepared reading the book for the next course. And the sailing school, because that's probably the biggest part of our business now. Along with some things about just making the whole experience work properly for the students, so that they get the the right kind of training, the right kind of experience, and being able to maintain that experience has, I think, helped the reputation of outbound sailing. We see a lot of reviews that we get, and those are the kind of things that they talk about. Another thing that I did last year, well, a year and a half ago now, is I hired a full-time sailing instructor, Captain Doran, who lived just down from me in Clearwater, when I was in Florida. He was in St. Pete, so we were 10 minutes apart. But so he came up here and he started teaching and doing most of the teaching actually. And then just this past year, he got the American Sailing Association Outstanding Instructor Award. It's a pretty prestigious thing. It places you in the top 2% of ASA instructors worldwide. And so, with both of us now having received that award, that's something that I think is a credential or a badge that people can look at and say, oh, okay, so here these guys are. They've got awards. They've got captain's licenses. They've got tons of cruising experience, and that's what we bring to the table. And we're just seeing more and more people get interested in that, and then going into the Caribbean. Since then, what I've been working on is a practical navigation course. See, all of this navigation started out as navigation for ships, and you're on a ship and you're up in the somewhere doing the charts, and it's all stable and easy to do and that kind of thing. When you're actually out on the water and you're trying to get into a harbor at night, and it's raining and dark, and I've been in this situation. You can't just sort of pick up your chart while you're in there, because the wind's blowing and the rain's going, everything like that. You have to do something else. Stuff like for the advanced coastal cruising, what I do is have the students, they have to plot a dead reckoning course that takes them between two islands, reasonably close islands, and then they have to sail that course blindfolded.
Nuh-uh.
Yeah, they can actually, I put a sleeping mask on them, they can look down, they can see the compass, and they can see their watch, and that's the only tools that they have to navigate. And in all of whenever we're traveling down in the islands, we always plot DR courses. We sail those DR courses. We see what went wrong, what the currents were, what the new course to steer is. Did we end up where we thought we were going to end up? If we didn't, why not? Because we'd use the GPS to do that.
So usually when you are on the ocean, what size are those boats typically? Well,
it varies to a real lot. When you're on the ocean, you typically want a larger boat, but and it depends on how many crew you've got and how many people going with you. Okay, so if you'd like a little larger boat just for the stability and the safety and so forth. But there again, as you go up in the size of the boat, all the sail sizes just go up. And that means all the forces on the sails go up, means forces on all the rigging, the standing rigging, the running rigging. It's much more difficult to handle. And so the larger the boat is, the more difficult it is to handle, and the more crew you need. So mostly it's couples that are out there cruising, and so boats in the 40-foot range. Very common, 38, 42s, occasionally a 44, but in that range is pretty common. Lynn and Larry Party are a couple that have been sailing around the world for I don't know how many years, and they've been sailing in a little boat, Paraffin, something or other, but it's like a 29-foot wooden boat without an engine, without a stove, without anything on it, and they went round and round and round. I mean, down to the low, the high southern latitudes, all the way down to Antarctica, and all the way up to, the Arctic Circle and stuff like that, or close to it. But it really doesn't make that much difference. If you've got 25-foot waves, it doesn't matter if your boat's 35 feet or 45 feet. It's not going to make any difference. Catamarans are great for a number of reasons, mainly just for the space on board, and they've become extremely popular as charter boats down in the islands, and you can just fit a lot of stuff, a lot of people on there. So if you're taking your family and and friends and stuff like that, and you're going to go down to the islands to charter a boat, chartering a catamaran, you split the cost 4 ways, 4 cabins, each one you're air conditioned, we've got your own head and shower and all that kind of stuff. They were finding that people going down there not even sailing them, they wouldn't even put the sails up.
Just motor around?
They just motor around from one island to another, and in fact what they offer now is motor cats. And so you can get one without all the other stuff on there. So you just
why bother with the sails?
You specifically motor around. This line is called a halyard. It's the main halyard, and so that attaches to the top of the sail. Halyards are used to raise and lower sails. This is a sloop-rigged boat. We have 2 sails: main sail, this one here, and the head sail. The other ones are sheets for controlling the sails. And so we have a main sheet, which is this one right here, connects up through here down to the traveler there. That's the main sheet. That's what you're going to use to control the main, just one. For the jib, the jib can come out both sides, of course, and so we have 2 jib sheets. So see that big winch back there?
Back?
Yep. And then there's another one corresponding on the other side. Those are your jib sheets. Those are your primary winches and your jib sheets. The things that you're going to be working with today primarily is the sheets and the halyards. There's a couple of other lines that you'll need to use. One is the furling line, which rolls the head sail up. Yeah, so that rolling up is called furling. What it's done is connected the halyard to the head of the sail. The kinds of things that you're going to do, I'm going to show you a little bit on the boat first, so you get a feel for that, so we're not out there rocking and rolling while you're trying to do something the first time. When we get out there, the first thing we're going to do is raise the main. The main sail is in this bag here called a stack pack. The halyard is connected to the head of the sail. Here is the main halyard, okay? I know that because it says main halyard right there. And when we're head into the wind, I'm going to say go ahead and start raising the main, and one of you will start pulling this in. You pull it up as far as you can, all the way, and then you're going to put wraps on the winches here. Important thing is how you hold the line when you're loading a winch. Loading a winch means putting wraps on it. Okay, you don't want to lose your fingers. So. Hold the line like this, like you're going to push it, push it around. You go round, 1, 2, 3, like that. Always over the feeder arm and into the jaws. So once you've pulled it up as far as you can by hand, close that so you won't lose what you've already gained. Then put the halyard onto the winch, wrap it around, put the over the feeder arm and then into the jaws. All of these winches are self-tailing, meaning that when you load them up, it comes off the winch drum over the feeder arm and into the jaws, these black things, okay? The next thing that we'll be doing, we'll have the main up, we're going to set the jib out. The jib, the way we get the jib out is we release that furling line right there, because that furling line, if you follow that along, you see where it goes right up to the bow, and at the base there of the head stay, you see that drum with the line wrapped around it? Yeah. So what happens is we grab the sheets, we start pulling that sail out, it starts unrolling that sail. As it's unrolling its sail, it rolls up the furling line onto that drum. So now the sail's all the way out and that drum's all filled with the line. So now I want to bring it back in, I can take that line and haul on it and that will roll it back up. Okay. The winch will only turn clockwise. These are 2-speed winches, meaning that if I turn it one way, it cranks at a certain speed. I turn the other way, and I've got a high speed. It's much more natural to hold it like this and go around like that. Okay. but you need to be in the habit of getting it on and going like this around there. Okay, all right, so how are we going to sail this boat? So what we're going to focus on is, first off, is your what's called the angle of attack, and that is the angle of the sail to the wind. You need to have that right so that you get good flow over the sail, and it will actually be able to pull the boat along. Okay, so that's going to be the big trick, and then holding a course, making sure you can hold a course in the gusty winds and things like that. For instance, when you turn, the boat just doesn't go around a corner like a car does. It pivots, tends to pivot, so it'll turn very quickly. When you're going backwards, it is a non-linear steering. So what happens is the amount that you turn the wheel and ultimately the rudder, it will result in a different amount of force on the rudder depending on where you are. So I could go from here to here, turn it 5 degrees, and the rudder turns 5 degrees and you turn 5 degrees. I turn another 5 degrees and you turn 15 degrees. Another 5 degrees and you turn 35 degrees. You know, so it's a non-linear and a little awkward to do.
It's been a while, but I think we're going to attack this wind without ruining the boat.
It's actually for getting out. So what I do, the boat's in forward gear right now, so it's just nuzzled up into that V, and it holds the bow in the center of the slip. And because it's in forward gear, there's water going across the rudder, so I can actually steer the stern of the boat back and forth, so I can position the boat wherever I want it in the slip based on the conditions, and then back out. Yep, bloody brilliant.
Good up here. Oh, I'm gonna do this. Is this a bad decision? Captain.
What happened? You kind of got distracted and you got up into the no sail zone. And one thing with this boat, if you get up into the no sail zone, it doesn't take much. That jib gets backwinded and it's going to take you around. You can't get it. That's where you learn your circular sailing. So now you can get back on course and correct point of sail, and we're sailing pretty close hauled. So no, what happened is the jib just got backwinded, and in fact that's actually a maneuver that we do. It's called heaving to. You backwind the jib, but you let go of the main sheet, and it's basically a way of stopping the boat without dropping the sails. So if you need to do some repairs or go below and make a sandwich or something like that, and you want to stop the boat, you can do that.
Let's make the sandwiches.
Yeah, no kidding. Sailing makes you hungry, doesn't it?
Thirsty, hungry.
I noticed nobody's drinking water because they don't want to use the pump bathroom.
So true. Not when I'm like drunk with power. You can see it on her face.
On the sail like that. So your telltales, the further off the wind you are, the less value your telltales are. And so they're really not doing much for us right now because we're getting pushed along. Okay. When we're going upwind and we get that flow that they're telling us what's really going on. What you'll do is you'll center the main, so you're going to pull it in as far as you can. Put two turns on the winch there and undo the rope clutch. Okay, and then you're going to, as we go around, you're going to pull it all the way in. Okay, and you're going to say, prepare to jibe.
Prepare to jibe. Jibe. Prepare to jibe!
All right. All right, hold in on that thing as much as you can.
Hold in on it? Am I holding it?
Okay, so now, jibe ho.
Drive hoe?
Jibe hoe.
Jibe hoe.
Jibe hoe.
Okay, so you're going to turn this way. And then as it comes around, you're going to have to pull in on it. It'll start getting more and more slack. Yeah, okay. There it goes. Let it out now. Okay, start to straighten up on your course a little bit there.
How much am I letting out?
Yeah, turn back a little bit this way. Out there somewhere. We'll tweak it later. That's good. Okay. Now we need to be onto the lazy sheet. There you go. Good. Okay. Now there's going to be some slack on that line, so pull in on it. Get all that slack out. Okay. If I was to let go of this without you having that in control, we'd be 2 sheets to the wind. And that would really be a problem. And that's where 3 sheets to the wind came from. Yeah, you ready? Go ahead and start pulling in. More around about there. Go ahead and park it. Those old square riggers, if they had 3 sheets go loose, meaning to the wind, then they were in bad shape. That boat was just doing this kind of thing, and that's where, sort of like a drunken sailor, so that's where that came from. But what happens if we go 2 sheets to the wind, meaning that we've got both sheets let go at the same time, what can happen is the sail gets blown forward of the headstay and ends up getting wrapped around it. And that can be a real mess. That can ruin your whole day. Rules. So they all made up some rules, and they weren't all the same, and so they kept crashing into each other. But they kept working on it, for years to try and get a consensus on the rules. And finally, in 1972, they did. And so we have the 1972 coal regs, which is the navigation, and that's what's for shipping, international rules. And they apply to whenever you're outside of a harbor or any interior water on a lake. What they did is they said, okay, well, look, we've got all these recreational vessels, and a lot of these kind of rules don't really make sense for a recreational vessel, and so, are we going to make a bunch of rules, separate for them? And they all said, nah, hell no, we're not going to do that. We'll just make them go to our rules, and the Coast Guard will use their judgment in applying those rules. The ASA navigation course has got a reputation for being an extremely hard course. Well, you have to allow 5 hours for the test. And so I actually teach the course on 2 days and a weekend. The following weekend, I give them the test, so they have time to practice and everything. But the thing that I do is I found out fairly quickly why it was such a hard course, and it was because people did not really know how to plot their courses and stuff, and they would make errors. And so the problem was that it was so easy to make errors. So they could, understanding the concepts and stuff like that in that navigation, it's not that hard. It really isn't. What's hard is avoiding all of those traps that you can get into that cause the errors, and the errors all compound. And so you end up, being in, South America instead of, Switzerland or wherever you want. What I do in the teaching is I have them work lots and lots of problems and focus on each step. Check where you are. Each step, check where you are. See if you've made a mistake, and find out as quickly as possible if you've made a mistake. So I give them the answer book and everything like that so that they can look and see. And then if they've made a mistake, find out how you did that. And I have them write it down. What did I do that led up to that mistake? I did this, I did that. I have a TVMDC chart or something or other.
We need the other things.
The what?
The other lines, the other sails.
I thought you said the other thing.
I don't know.
You didn't say the other thing, did you?
What I meant to say.